Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to pull out the key nuggets of knowledge from, well, a whole stack of sources, really, giving you that shortcut to being genuinely well-informed.
Hmm.
And today, we're diving into a world where movement, it isn't just steps. It's actually this deep journey into culture, history, even self-discovery.
Exactly. We're talking dance,
Mm-hmm.
specifically the really vibrant and constantly changing dance scene in New York City.
Right.
And for this deep dive, our main source is this fantastic, really extensive conversation with Minnie Zhang.
Ah, mini Zhang.
Yeah. She came to NYC, a decade ago,
Mm.
purely for dance. Now she runs her own studio, teaches all over.
Mm.
She really embodies that journey, turning passion into a real career.
That's incredible. So our mission today basically is to unpack her story.
Mm-hmm. A personal journey, yeah. And also look at how the NYC dance scene itself has transformed.
Okay, like from the underground club scene.
Exactly. Its roots,
Oh.
all the way to the big commercial studios now.
Hmm.
And crucially, try to explore, what dance means on a deeper level.
Yeah. It feels like there are insights here for anyone really passionate about learning, about growth, whatever their field.
Definitely.
So let's start right at the beginning. Minnie Zhang's journey as a dancer. Sometimes people just know their passion from day one, but Minnie's childhood experience wasn't quite like that.
No, not really. She actually mentioned really disliking the painful leg stretching.
Oh, yeah.
And she just sort of casually did it in elementary school. Nothing serious.
So what do you think stopped that initial spark? I mean, is that common for dancers maybe not to connect right away?
It's surprisingly common, actually. The first taste isn't always magical. For Minnie, the real revelation, that came later in high school in Beijing.
Okay.
She found hip-hop, apparently inspired by a friend doing, Korean MV-style jazz.
Okay.
But she picked hip-hop because it felt cool, different from the typical dances she saw girls doing.
Great. Something distinct.
Yeah. But even then, it was still, in her words, just for fun. Not some, burning ambition yet.
Just fun, just cool. Okay. But then things shifted in university. She was in a rural American setting, I read.
That's right. And because resources were limited, she joined this small dance troupe. And that's where the passion really caught fire.
What was it about that place, you think? Even with limitations?
Well, sometimes scarcity breeds dedication, right? You have to actively seek it out.
Sure.
It probably forced a deeper connection, maybe made her commit differently. And this growing passion, well, it led to a huge decision. Moving to NYC in 2015.
Right. And not just moving, but moving specifically to learn hip-hop from the OGs, the original practitioners.
Exactly. And she actually set aside her finance major for this.
Wow. That's commitment.
It really shows you how serious she was.
That is a massive leap, finance to NYC dance scene. But it sounds like she had a bit of an advantage from the get-go. Something about a green card.
Ah, yes. That was crucial. She had a green card through family immigration.
How did that change things for her compared to other dancers facing, money issues, visa problems?
It made a huge difference. It gave her a solid foundation. So many dancers come here full of dreams, but they hit financial walls or their visa runs out after a few years and they have to go home.
Right, the practicalities kick in.
Exactly. But having that green card meant Minnie could actually dedicate her time, her resources, to just learning, to soaking up the culture, focusing on the craft without those constant external pressures.
That's a significant leg up. But even so, her initial plan hit a snag. She wanted hip-hop OGs, but...
Yeah, she was initially disappointed. She found that not many hip-hop OGs were teaching regularly in, formal studio settings.
Huh, okay.
But that disappointment actually led her to discover house dance. And then came the real transformation, her first house club experience.
Ah, the club scene again. What was that like?
She described it as very free, very underground. It wasn't about performing for an audience. It was dance as a way of life,
Yeah.
That experience totally solidified her decision to stay in NYC. She'd found this culture, this spirit she was looking for.
But she also mentioned that kind of club culture is harder to find now.
Yeah, she noted it's less common now. It points to a shift, maybe away from those organic community spots, towards more commercial venues. A different vibe.
Interesting. So she finds her path, discovers house. But how did her parents take all this? Especially coming from a finance background.
Well, initially they struggled to get it. Her dad especially was apparently confused about all the time and money she was pouring into dance.
I can imagine.
Her mom was a bit more accepting, it seems. But eventually, many felt they came around. They saw it was a genuine passion.
Maybe it reminded them of their own youthful interests.
Perhaps. She mentioned maybe they had their own artistic leanings when they were younger. But it highlights that, even today, pursuing dance often needs explaining in a world focused on practicality, especially when it's not a traditional career path.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, from this kind of roundabout path, she's deep in the NYC scene. But how does someone go from being a dedicated student to, well, an accidental teacher and eventually owning a studio? That's another big leap.
It really wasn't planned, according to her. She calls it accidental. It literally started with her subbing for a friend, just filling in at a place called AKF in Flushing.
Okay, just helping out.
Yeah. And then someone named Dreamer spotted her, found her on Facebook, and that led to regular classes.
Wow. So it just snowballed from being there, being willing.
Pretty much. It shows how opportunities can just pop up.
Yeah.
Not always from some grand strategy.
That's fascinating. And then she met a key mentor figure, right? Ryan Davis.
Yes, R.K. Davis. He had a huge influence. He was the one who really pushed her to develop her own style.
Ah, okay. Not just technique.
Exactly. Prioritizing creativity, her unique voice over just mastering steps.
How did that practically shape her? What did that mean for her dancing?
It was fundamental. He helped her move beyond just copying to really finding her own way of moving. But there's a sadder side to that story, too.
Yeah.
Ryan Davis eventually got disillusioned with the dance industry. Minnie mentioned he felt there was a lot of fakeness. And between that and a physical injury, he actually left the scene.
Wow. That really speaks to the pressures, doesn't it? The physical toll, but also the emotional side of the industry.
Absolutely. It can burn people out, even incredibly talented ones.
Okay, moving on to another huge disruption, COVID-19. Everything changed. Minnie had to pivot to online teaching. What was surprising about that for her?
Well, the surprise was how strong the connection still felt, even online. The pandemic hit the dance industry hard financially. Lots of dancers had to leave.
Right, instability everywhere.
But for Minnie, teaching online, somehow, unexpectedly, reinforced how much dance meant to her as a social connection, a community thing.
Interesting. Instead of isolating her, it reinforced the connection.
Yeah, and it also solidified her desire for more control over her career path.
How so?
She contrasted teaching, where you get that direct feedback from students, that immediate response,
Oh, right.
with being a performer, where you're always kind of waiting to be chosen by someone else. Teaching felt more empowering in that moment.
That makes sense. More agency. And that realization paved the way for PGM.
Exactly. Party, groove, music, her own studio. The idea sparked during COVID. She saw an opportunity, actually.
An opportunity amidst the chaos.
Yeah. Studios were closing, things were reopening slowly, cautiously. There was a gap. She partnered with Peter, who had studio experience, and they went for it.
Bold move. What was the vision initially?
Their initial thought was maybe catering mainly to Chinese international students.
Okay.
But interestingly, the studio quickly attracted a really diverse crowd, lots of local New Yorkers too.
So it broadened out naturally.
It did, which connects to another observation she made, that sometimes many Chinese international students still stick together in specific Chinese dance groups in NYC.
Why is that, do you think?
Maybe seeking a comfort zone, preferring a familiar environment rather than diving headfirst into all the maybe intimidating diverse resources NYC dance offers. It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, comfort versus access. So with this diverse clientele at PGM, how did they build that community? How did she pick teachers?
Her approach was very personal. She preferred teachers she knew, people she'd trained with, or those she knew had really strong foundational knowledge.
So based on trust and shared values.
Exactly. It wasn't just about resumes.
Mm-hmm.
That personal touch helps build a cohesive feel, a stable community.
And how did they build the student base?
It was a mix of things.
Yeah.
Good timing, like we said, post-COVID, when options were fewer.
Right.
Teachers brought their existing students with them. And then just good old word of mouth. It
Yeah.
created a more stable, loyal base compared to some bigger studios where turnover can be much higher.
Right, less transient. Minnie Zhang's whole journey really gives us this inside look at how the NYC dance landscape keeps shifting. Let's dig into that more. The big studios, the cultural changes.
Right.
What does the story of, say, BDC tell us?
Oh, it tells us a lot about how these places have to adapt, often compromise. Broadway Dance Center, historically, yeah, it was a major hub for street styles, even early K-pop classes.
I don't remember that.
But many of the OGs, the originators, they eventually left. Often, low pay was a big factor. Plus, it's genuinely hard to systematically teach styles that are so much about feeling, improvisation, individual history.
Yeah.
It doesn't always fit neatly into a studio class structure.
The economics and the pedagogy clash?
Exactly. So BDC, over time, shifted more towards commercial choreography, which maybe fit the structure better or was more in demand commercially. It shows these studios aren't static, they're constantly reacting.
Okay. And Paradance, I always pictured that as more ballet and contemporary.
It was, primarily. But they also gradually brought in more street styles. Again, likely responding to dancer demand and market trends.
And PMT.
PMT House of Dance had more old-school roots, known for things like b-boying, locking. Many noted it became one of the rare spots for actual dance sessions and battles, places where people just gathered to dance, not just take class, more like the original culture.
Interesting. And what about EXPG, that Japanese company trying to bring OGs together?
Yeah, EXPG. The idea was to consolidate OGs, run these big camps. Sounds good on paper, right? Preserving the styles.
Seems like it.
But Minnie Zhang's take was that it ultimately didn't work out, and it closed down. It just highlights how tricky it is to formalize or commercialize these deeply rooted, often underground dance cultures without losing something vital or infringing on the OG's autonomy.
Yeah, that authenticity question keeps coming up.
Yeah.
So post-COVID, you mentioned teachers going independent, renting space.
Right. A lot of established teachers found they could make better money and have more control renting space independently rather than teaching in the big studios for a set, often low rate.
So the ecosystem shifts again. Experienced teachers move out, maybe newer teachers move into the big studios.
Exactly. And this brings up that tension you mentioned, authenticity. The OGs trying to preserve the original hip-hop styles, trying to systematize them.
While younger dancers might be chasing trends.
Yeah, younger American dancers often gravitate towards newer styles, things driven by social media or current music. And here's the irony Minnie pointed out.
What's that?
It's often the foreigners, like dancers from China, who show more reverence, more diligence in actually learning the cultural origins, the history.
That is fascinating. They're seeking the roots more intently than some who grew up closer to it.
It's a curious dynamic. And speaking of trends, this ties into commercialization.
Right, the TikTok effect.
Yeah. Minnie Zhang feels the music industry, platforms like TikTok, they push towards simpler, easily copied moves. Makes sense for viral content, right?
Sure.
But her concern is that this can detract from deeper understanding, from individual expression. It can lead to what she called a mass production of dancers.
Meaning
Dancers with high technical skills, sure, but who might end up looking kind of identical, lacking that unique personal voice or deep connection.
that uniformity concern. And does this relate to the freestyle versus choreography divide she mentioned?
Directly. She sees a growing separation in NYC. You have the commercial choreography world, Choree, as some call it, and the freestyle world, Free.
And historically, they were more blended.
Yeah, OGs often did both. But now, many commercial dancers don't really freestyle. And many freestylers aren't focused on commercial choreo. It's like two different worlds sometimes.
What gets lost when they separate like that?
Maybe a holistic grasp of the art form. Commercial choreo focuses on execution of set routines, often quickly learned. Freestyle demands this deep personal connection with the music, improvisation, history.
Right.
Minnie really believes you have to learn the history and culture directly from the source, from people who lived it, not second or third hand.
Like reading about it isn't the same as feeling it.
Exactly. She even mentioned ongoing debates about defining styles like, is locking superstructured, is house more of a melting pot? But for her, personally, it often comes back to the feeling of the movement, more than just the names of the steps.
Lived experience. Okay. What about gender dynamics? Hip-hop, historically.
Historically quite male-dominated, yeah. Dance could even be a way to, attract women back in the day. And Minnie points out a real lack of prominent historical female role models in hip-hop, which created challenges.
Like what?
Like women feeling maybe they had to adopt more masculine movements or energy to fit in or be taken seriously, which can stifle their own natural expression.
How does that compare to house?
House dance, she feels, emerged from a more inherently inclusive club culture. It was less gendered from the start, more about freedom and acceptance for everyone on the floor.
That makes sense, given its roots. And finally, on these cultural shifts, the club scene itself. She compared then and now. What made clubs then so magical, even if dangerous?
Then the clubs were these raw primary spaces. It wasn't about performance. It was about genuine expression, finding community, truly feeling the music. Yes, sometimes dangerous, definitely underground.
But authentic.
Totally.
Yeah.
People from all walks of life, just united by wanting to dance. That shared energy created something special, magical as she put it. Now, Many of those iconic spots are gone. The scene feels more fragmented. Some current clubs might feel a bit forced, maybe more performative, less about that deep shared connection.
Harder to find that vibe.
Much harder. She stressed the challenge of finding those rare right clubs now, the ones with that truly immersive, authentic atmosphere. She mentioned one standout night with DJ Spinner as capturing that elusive feeling. It's like searching for pockets of the original spirit.
A loss of that central, unadulterated space. Wow. Okay, so after navigating all this for years, Minnie Zhang clearly has some hard-earned wisdom. What's her life like now? Balancing the studio, teaching, still taking classes?
It's definitely a juggle. She's running PGM, teaching a lot of classes, but she also makes a point of actively taking classes herself.
To stay fed, as she put it.
Exactly. To keep learning, stay inspired, it underlines that idea that good teachers remain students.
And her philosophy on teaching choreo is interesting, too.
What's that?
She sees teaching choreography not just as teaching steps, but fundamentally as teaching how to dance through those moves. Ah, okay. So the routine is a tool, not the end goal.
Precisely. It's about empowering the dancer with rhythm, musicality, body awareness, understanding why things feel a certain way, not just perfectly replicating a sequence.
That's a really key distinction, empowering versus just perfecting. And it sounds like, through all the industry ups and downs, the actual act of dancing remains her core joy.
That comes through so clearly. For her, dance itself is never the disappointment. The struggles, they come from the business side.
Right. Managing the studio, interpersonal stuff.
Exactly. Student retention, teacher dynamics, financial pressures. That's the hard part, not the dancing itself. Her core motivation, she says, is just to always be able to dance.
That's simple.
Yeah. It goes beyond fame, beyond commercial success. Just the ability to keep moving.
That really resonates, that intrinsic drive. So, for you listening, maybe you're an aspiring dancer, maybe you're just navigating your own passion project. What advice does Minnie Zhang offer?
She gives some really practical, candid advice. First, seek the source. Really make an effort to find and learn from the OGs, the foundational teachers. They might not be the flashiest on Instagram,
Right. Look beyond the surface.
Second, embrace patience, especially with foundational training. Don't rush into complex choreography before you have that solid base. It takes time.
Good advice for any skill. What else?
Third, define your why.
Right.
Really understand your personal reasons for dancing. Don't just chase trends or copy someone else's dream. That leads to burnout.
Know yourself. Okay.
Fourth, cultivate authenticity. It is okay if you don't perfectly fit in or look like someone else. Your unique life shapes your movement.
Yeah.
Own that.
Love that. Be yourself.
And finally, maybe counterintuitively, manage expectations, especially about artists or OGs.
Meaning?
Don't put them on pedestals. Recognize they're human.
Yeah.
They have flaws, complex backgrounds, especially considering the socioeconomic roots of many of these dance forms. Appreciate the art, but understand the person. It prevents disillusionment.
That's really wise. Keeps things realistic. So valuable and applicable way beyond dance, really.
Totally.
And Minnie Zhang wraps up by calling dance a profound privilege. What does she mean by that?
She means it requires things not everyone has access to.
Yeah.
Health, first and foremost. Then time, money, a safe space to practice and learn. It's easy to take those for granted if you have them.
True. It's a confluence of resources.
Exactly. And she still sees NYC, despite all the changes, all the challenges, as this unique hub. Why? Because it brings together so many different styles, so many communities, that constant exposure, that global conversation, it's still an incredible source of inspiration.
What a journey we've covered today. We've gone deep into Minnie Zhang's own discovery, watched her navigate this incredibly complex, shifting NYC dance world, becoming a teacher, an owner.
And seeing those tensions between the old school and the new, authenticity versus commercial pressures.
Absolutely. And her wisdom really shines through.
Yeah.
Seek the source, be patient, know your why, be authentic.
It really underscores that dance, at its heart, is this deeply personal thing, right? A dialogue between you, the music, the feeling.
Yeah.
Even if the industry around it is complicated.
Yeah, that pursuit itself, she calls it a privilege, and maybe that's the core of it.
I think so. That ability to pursue it remains powerful.
So, as you, our listener, think about all this, maybe consider this final thought. In a world that's increasingly about trends, about commercial appeal, about fitting in, how can you consciously seek out and really cherish that pure, undiluted joy, that self-expression that your own passions promise, whether it's dance or something else entirely?
Yeah, what steps will you take to genuinely connect with the roots of what drives you?
Something to mull over. Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive.